both watched for the first time Being There from 1979, directed and written for the screen by Hal Ashby, another new Hollywood legend. R.I.P. to him as well. Hal Ashby is another big figure in the new Hollywood era, and for good reason, because he made some very unique films in his time. They're all surprising when you watch them.
Yeah. Hal Ashby, as a director, most of the movies I've seen by him kind of takes a while to really get into the story. But once it gets going, oh my god, his movies hit so hard.
Yeah.
He always has this way of just weaving in the bigger picture of life into all his movies. You know, and I don't know, just like what a great movie this was, Being There. I love Peter Sellers, and I love the message that it leaves you with by the end. Yeah,
Peter Sellers is really great, and he's playing a less zany character than he usually does. He's just playing a really like more withdrawn character, because that's like who the guy is. But you know, Hal Ashby, like Last Detail is a movie that really sat with me when I saw it, but also like it took me some time to get into it, and then like I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And then Harold and Maude is another movie that was like kind of weird, and then it's actually like a masterpiece. That all the messages in that are great, and like how you should enjoy your life, and which is always nice to hear. And then we have Being There, which came out in 1979, and in the story we follow this gardener. How old is he in this movie? Like fucking 60, 70?
Yeah, he must be up there. You know, this is his second to last movie.
Yeah, so he's probably like late 50s.
Yeah.
But he plays this gardener named Chance, who has been living in the same house his whole life and has never left the house. And all he does is garden and watch television. So that's how his reality is informed. He's never left this house at all, but he lives in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, in Washington, D.C. He also is... They kind of played off like not all there. Like some characters refer to him as like, you know, kind of stupid or simple-minded or something.
Yeah.
And so when he watches TV, obviously he'll take in that information and he'll use that information in his day-to-day interactions with people. And you kind of see how the television influences him. And then, in turn, like, people think that's his personality, you know? It's really interesting. It's really trippy the way, like, information kind of flows through this movie. Kind of when you watch it, even when Peter Sellers is talking about something, he's referring to something, like he's never been in an elevator before, and someone else is having the same conversation with him, but they're both talking about two different things. It's very trippy in that way, this movie. There's a lot of little details that, like, if on the rewatch, I bet I'll see, like, a lot more of, like, what's going on. But basically, the movie kind of starts with, so he's lived in this house his whole life, and the person that owns the house dies. So suddenly, he's forced to move out of this house they grew up in, never left his entire life, and go out into the real world of, like, 70s America. And just think about, like, you know, getting dropped into, like, this foreign place that you never even, like, you've only seen on TV, you didn't even know it was real. Slowly he makes his way up the chain somehow to the vice president's house. It's really interesting, this movie, because I feel like there is kind of a philosophy, like almost this Zen philosophy behind the movie and the message it's trying to say with how simple-minded he is. In reality, like, it's not about what you say in the movie. It's about, like, what you do. And, like, he's almost, like, just being there. By just being there, he is enough for people. You know what I mean? He's not trying to win anyone over or anything. He's just, like, there, and people, like, love his presence, you know?
Basically, like, when he walks out the door, he just starts walking with his, like, umbrella, and he, like, kind of runs into some, you know, black kids in Harlem and shit, and, like, people are, like, kind of making fun of him. They're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then he accidentally gets hit by a car, and inside that car is the wife to this guy who's, like, some big finance person, like, some big high-up guy, like, economic dude who's, like, really influential. And, like,
I think he's the vice president.
I thought he was, like, the economic affairs something.
Oh. I always thought he was the vice president because they That's what they were saying. They're like, don't bother the vice president with this. He has enough.
I don't know. I don't remember that. But I thought he was some Logan Roy type guy. They get invited to his house. He gets invited to their house because he's like injured, so the doctor will take care of him instead of like giving him to a hospital here, and they'll be more amicable with him. And he finally gets to meet this guy he's sick. After like talking to him for a bit, he like starts to become like almost infatuated with how simple like he is and like how kind of but also inspiring he is. So
yeah,
he brings him. He's gonna meet the vice president, and he brings him with him to meet the vice president.
No, meet the president.
The president, yeah. To meet the president, and he meets the president, and the president asks him, how do you see what's going on in the country or like the economy,
like she knows nothing about.
Yeah, which he knows nothing about, and he just basically tells him in the garden there's spring and summer, and then there's fall and winter. And you're going to have bad times where there's no growth, but then there's always the seasons of growth. And he kind of interprets that as like, you go through hard times in the economy, and then there's also good times in the economy.
Yeah.
And
but the thing is, like, no one knows how simple-minded he is. Like, no one catches on to that. No. They just think he's so wise and a man of very few words that doesn't fool around.
Yeah.
But in reality, we're seeing like a very different guy kind of meandering through this whole situation.
Yeah, we're seeing like goofy Peter Sellers in our head. Basically, he becomes like a very influential cultural figure in the media because he goes on television and says some really simple stuff because all he knows about is gardening. Mm-hmm. Like it's really what he knows about or what he's seen on television. So he just says something simple about gardening, and then it's just like a really big deal. Yeah. And then people start to try to find out who he actually is. Yeah. It's like research and
he has like no birth certificate, nothing. They can't find. They're like, is he Russian? Like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And like everyone's trying to like play all the political games around him, and he's just so far removed from all of that, and just so empathetic in a way too that like people really resonate with that, and they love him for that.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. And I think the only person really to find out about him, sits on that information and chooses not to tell anyone about it, because what difference does it make if people find like this hope in this person that's like really kind of inspiring and moving to these people? Mm-hmm. And then do you want to have a little spoiler? Like, what do you think of the ending?
Well, can we talk about the wife though?
Sure. You want to talk about like?
Yeah, we got to talk about Shirley MacLaine for a little bit. But basically, the guy's house that they live at, the guy's wife starts to become infatuated with Chance the gardener because he's just like, I guess, so charming to everyone, and she finds him very charismatic, and like she starts to like try to come on to him, but he like doesn't necessarily respond to it.
Because he doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know, and that probably makes her even more attracted to him. Yet again.
Yeah, but also like the thing is like I love about him is like everyone forces their own opinions on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I find him like such a serious person, and then the other guy's like, really? I find him kind of like funny. Like they don't really know how to see him. Yeah,
exactly. And then you have the Shirley MacLaine character who's like trying to hook up with him and stuff, and that was really funny too and interesting, and also kind of like uncomfortable and awkward.
Yeah.
But by the end, like, it's a very wholesome ending, and it's a very wholesome movie. Like, nothing actually bad happens to this character. It's just kind of more an exploration of his impact on the people in the film and what that has to say.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's hard to really dive into the ending and really dissect it, because I don't know what it's really trying to say about our lives, that very last scene. Like, maybe it's like this character is so removed from everything in reality, in this reality that we like shape around ourselves, like thinking everything's so important, like politics and our economy and just like how we like talk to people and stuff, that maybe like if we just separate ourselves from all of that and just realize like it's all like made up stuff, you really see like the real reality, which is like what he sees.
Yeah. You see it through his perspective, but everyone else's perspective is totally different, and they never find out that he's actually just a simple-minded guy.
Yeah, I kept thinking they would, but
it was kind of like some Forrest Gump type shit, dude.
Yeah.
It was some Forrest Gump type shit before Forrest Gump, but being there has like more of like a grounded quality and less corny than fucking...
Yeah.
Like, Hal Ashby was like a grounded, like, hippie type guy, but he was also kind of an asshole. His movies kind of had this, like, you know, grounded edge to them that wasn't corny.
Mm-hmm.
Forrest Gump is, like, more melodramatic. This is, like, new Hollywood grit to it. Like, this...
What's his name? Robert Zemeckis?
Yeah, Robert Zemeckis, yeah.
Yeah, like cheesy.
Yeah, a little corny. Like,
yeah.
corny. But this doesn't have any of that. I don't think it's corny at all. I think it's a really... It could easily be really corny, but it's not. Because it's helmed by, like, a true master director of the new Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hal Ashby, yeah, man. Another figure in... that they talk about a lot in Easy Riders, Raging Bulls.
Yeah.
One of the best books on cinema ever. I recommend reading it if you're into that.